part 7 of 9, and this is the first in our last 3-part series about the Keitz. So the main topic of today's shir, the name is On Our Time or His, and it's about the topic of B'itei Achishena, that there's this concept of, like we'll see, there's an idea of a Keitz, of a certain end of Moshiach. There's also an idea that we have to bring Moshiach. So, is it going to come just at a certain time? Is it dependent on us bringing it? So the first, the main source about this whole topic is in Daniel, Perek Beis, where it discusses the Keitz, the concept of the Keitz of Moshiach. And so we'll take a look here at this, the last parak in Daniel. Very interesting little piece. So he says, "Va'esahi yamoid Michael asar gadol ha'emin al bnei amecha v'hayisa es Sarah asher loy niyasa miyais gai ada esahi va'esahi molit amcha kalim sakosav va'sefer." So at that time, Daniel's having these different nevuahs, and he said that Michal, the great Tsar, the great Malach of the Yidden, who stood over the Jewish people, will be silent. So this time in the end of Galus is going to be a time when Michal, who's the Malach of Chesed, is going to be silent, and therefore the din is going to be very strong. It's going to be a lot of distress, like there never was from the nation, like from the time the Jewish people became a nation until then. And at that time your people will escape, everyone who is found inscribed in the book. Rabbi Mishene Admas Ofri Keitzu, and many of those that sleep in the dust, in the dirt, in the earth, will rise up. There'll be Tchias HaMesim, the resurrection of the dead. Eila l'chai olam ve'eila l'charofais l'dir ein olam. Some will wake up for the life of the Olam Haba. In other words, for disgrace. And the wise, the understanding, not sure if there's a better way to let's move to the next one. Maskilim really, it's not so, sometimes the exact translation doesn't matter so much when you're just translating it literally on a simple level, but on a deeper level, Maskilim refers to someone that really knows like the inner depth of something, and this refers to knowing the secrets of the Torah. So Yasiru Kazaya Rakia, they will shine like the brightness of the sky. Matzdike Harabim Kechaychavim La'ilam Vad. And those that bring righteousness to the nation, to the people, will be like the stars forever and ever. And this pasuk is brought down in the Sefer HaZayar, and it's quoted in Tanya, discussing the idea of how the Geula depends on learning the Prerequisites of Torah, learning the Sefer HaZayar, and in general learning the inner secrets of the Torah. And it discusses the idea that even though there's going to be a certain time, the times of Mashiach, but for people that are learning the Prerequisites of Torah, it's not going to be any different really than now so much. And all the main changes spiritually and physically and the miracles and all those things are going to come from learning the secrets of Torah. So that's brought out on this pasuk, but that's elsewhere. And then the Malach said, "Va'at Daniel sasayim advarim v'chasayim hasefer." And you, Daniel, close up the words and seal the book ad eis Keitz, until the end, until the time of the Keitz. Yishayta to Rabbi Isir b'hadas. So people will here they translate to run to and fro, but it means to their minds are going to race. They're going to think about what does it mean, what is the meaning of the Keitz and all these things, and they'll increase in knowledge. They'll study, they'll increase in knowledge. The re'isi ani Daniel v'hinei shnayim acherim eimdim echad heina l'sfas ha'yar v'echad heina l'sfas ha'yar. And I, Daniel, saw, and there were two others were standing there, one on one side of the river, one on the other side of the river. And one of them said to the one who was wearing linen, who was across the river, Ad Masai Keitz Haplois, when is going to be the end, this secret end, the end of the Galus? When's it going to end? So he's seeing this discussion between these malachim, and Daniel seeing this in his prophetic vision. And I heard the man who was wearing the linen, Asher Mimal who was across the river. By Yarim Yimina Yismali lifted up his right and his left hands, Al Shamayim. By Shava, and he swore, Bechei Ha'olam, by the life of the worlds, by Hashem, who's the source of the life of the world. Ki l'mayed mayedim b'chetzi, a period, 2 periods and a half. U'chachalais napetz yad am kedesh, and when the strength of the holy nation has been shattered, tiflena kalela, then it will all be over. So a very mysterious pasuk about the Keitz. Ba'ani shamati v'lo yavin, and Daniel himself says, I heard, I didn't understand. Ba'imra adaini ma acharis eila. And so I said, what is the meaning? What's acharis here means? What's the meaning? What's the end? The meaning of these words? How do you bring it about? And the truth is this. If you look elsewhere, the Friedrich Rebbe explains the Baal Shem Tov's question to Mashiach, Emasei Kasimar, when is the Master coming? Which, by the way, that question is a quote from the Gmorah. One of the discussions here in Sanhedrin we're going to bring later, where it talks about the Keitz, and that's what they asked Mashiach himself, in the Gmorah, when are you coming? And the Friedrich Rebbe explains that the question itself is really, and I think similar to here, in other words, I understand what needs to happen for the Geula to happen, but how do you actually bring it out? How do you actually bring it to the pile? And that's, so the question is coming from a place of understanding, not just a question without any understanding. And so he says, Ma'akrasela, how do you bring it to the pile? Vayemer, and he said, Lech Daniel, go, Kisasumim, Vachasumim Advarim Ades Keitz, because these are closed and sealed until the end of time. So, in fact, even the Sefer HaZayar, it says that the reason it was allowed to be revealed was because it was written in such a hidden way that it's as if it wasn't written. So it seems like it's a similar thing. You're saying that for now it has to stay hidden, and like he said, those that are maskilim will understand, and everyone else won't understand until it's time. Yisbaru v'yislabnu v'yitzarfu Rabbi. They will be clarified and whitened and purified. All the many. You hear Shiur Rishayim, the wicked will be wicked. The Lo Yavinu, and the wicked won't understand. Kol Rishayim, all the wicked won't understand. But Maskilim Yavinu, but the Maskilim will understand. Right. So it's there, and those are supposed to, that are able to get it, will understand what this means. So don't worry about making it more clear. It's supposed to be hidden in this way for a reason. And from the time that the daily Tamid stopped, and the abomination was placed, they put Avodah Zarah in the Beis Mikdash. So you should wait 1,290. Simple meaning is days or years. Fortune is the one that waits and reaches, and this is 1,335. So it adds on another, 45 years? Right? This is 290, and this is 335. So that's 45 years. And actually, Rashi says here that based on this, Chazal say that Mashiach is going to be revealed, and then he's going to be hidden for 45 years, and then he's going to bring the complete Geula. So it's interesting things about it. But you, he's talking to Neil, Lech la Keitz, v'sanuach, v'samei, l'garocha, l'keitz ha'yamim. You and go to the end, and you will rest, and you'll rise up. The simple means Tchias HaMesim, right? At the end of days, but here notice it says Keitz ha'yamim with a nun, not with a mem. It doesn't say Keitz ha'yamim in Hebrew, it says Keitz ha'yamim, which is, in Hebrew means the right side, in Aramaic it means days. So it's a strange wording. Okay, so that's the very cryptic Perek of Daniel, which is the basis of this thing, and a lot of speculation. I think next week's shir is going to talk a little more about the idea of be mechashev the Keitzim, and that's a topic which is, a lot based on that. People try to figure out different things based on that pasuk and other pasuk. But we're going to look a little bit at first some things it says in the Gmorah and some other things from Svarah about it, and then we'll see a perspective from Chassidus about it. Mainly based on the Maimer Al Tetzaris Mayav, like we'll see by the David The Rebbe, which he said when he met Rabbi Kiva Eger. And he said, supposedly for 6 hours, he told him the Maimer. It's a long Maimer, it's almost 100 pages long. And it's a whole description about this question about what's the idea of the Keitz and B'ita Chishana. And it seems that possibly the reason he was explaining it to him also was because it explains the purpose of Chassidus, how Chassidus is trying to help bring Mashiach closer and why it's designed the way it is. But it's a whole long thing, but we'll get a little bit from it, little tonsils from it. Okay, so here, this whole concept of the Geula and Mashiach and all different Kitzim and all different signs of what's going to happen before Mashiach is a long thing in Sanhedrin in Prerequisite. It's a few pages long, and it's a lot of very cryptic things. But hopefully we'll get a little bit of a key to understanding that if you look in different places, Mefarshim and Chassidus, that explain these topics, it's all based around that Nukud at this point. So let's start with here, Sanhedrin, Sadik, Vavam, Beis. It's on what? Zayin, whatever it is. Zayin. Zayin, yeah. Amar Rav said, Kol Kitzim. All of the Kitzim have already ended, come. In other words, is the time when Mashiach should have come, have all passed. That's a simple meaning. Now it only depends on us doing Tshuvah, doing good deeds. In other words, like it brings there earlier, that when Hashem set up the world, He set it up that there was going to be 2,000 years of Tayu, of chaos, 2,000 years of Torah, and then 2,000 years of Mashiach. And so already there was a certain prerequisite that had to happen before the Geula could happen. And now that's already, all those prerequisites are done. And the only reason Mashiach didn't come yet is because through our sins we lengthened the Galus, and therefore now it only depends on us. If we do Tshuvah, we do Ma'aseh Tovim, it'll come. That's pretty much the simple meaning. That's also the way it's explained. Shmuel said no. The Jewish people don't have to do anything to Torah mitzvahs necessary to merit it. The very fact, the fact that we were put into Galus wasn't because of a sin. It was not a punishment. So the fact that Hashem put us in Galus and we're suffering through Galus, that enough is going to be enough that we should merit the Geula, right? That's the simple idea. And okay, so they have a disagreement. Rav says that it depends on us doing actions, and Shmuel says no, it's going to happen. We don't necessarily have to do anything to deserve it. And they say Kitanoi, this machlekes between Rav and Shmuel, who are Amoraim, is similar to and it's based on earlier machlekes of Tanayim. And this is between Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yeshua, which in general have a lot of machlekes about related topics. Chassidus explains there, about when the world was created and different things, and about the Mabul. So Rabbi Eliezer, Aymar, Im Yisrael Eisen Tshuvah Nigolin, Dim Lav Ein Nigolin. Rabbi Eliezer says that the Jewish people will do Teshuvah, they'll be redeemed, and if not, they won't be redeemed. It all depends totally on us. So opinion seems to say there's no Keitz, there's no definite time. It only depends on us doing Tshuvah. Yeah? I mean, when the Heretic first came to America, his slogan, and the Rebbe would sign all the letters, La'ar to Tshuvah, La'ar to the Geula. The sooner we do Tshuvah, the sooner will come the Geula, right? So that's, based on this thing. And it says certain place, Vim Lav Lav. If we don't do Tshuvah, it's not. Amar Le Rabbi Yeshua said back to him, no. In Eines and Tshuvah, Ein in Galin, if they don't do Tshuvah, they're not going to be redeemed. Ela Kodesh Baruch Hu Ma'amel Melech Shekzei Reis of Kashes Kahaman. If we don't deserve, Hashem is going to make a king, that's going to make harsh decrees like Haman. V'Yisrael Eisen Tshuvah Machziran L'Mutav. And so Hashem is going to force the Jewish people to do Tshuvah, and it's going to happen. So it doesn't depend on us waking ourselves up to Tshuvah. He says, okay, I agree that there has to be a certain Tshuvah, but there's a certain time when Hashem is going to force it. That's his opinion. And then they debate back and forth whether this is so. But so the simple meaning is just seems to be psukim for each side. In the Mimer he explains more each thing, but it's the basic thing. So Tanya Ida, Rabbi Eliezer Aimer, Amy Shalis and Tshuvah Negalin, Shenemar Shuvu Bonim Shevivim Arpa Mishuvah Seichem. Amar. So he said, Rabbi Eliezer says, look, it says clearly in the Pasuk of Yirmiyah that Hashem says, return wayward children, and then I will heal you. So you see Hashem is saying, first do Tshuvah, and then I'll heal you. So it says a clear Pasuk. Rabbi Yeshua, Amar Rabbi Yeshua said back to him, but it says in Yeshaya, right? That you were sold for nothing. Like we said, it wasn't because of an Aveira, it wasn't a punishment to Galus, it was a decree. Hashem wanted it to be this way. And so therefore, just like you didn't deserve to go into Galus, it wasn't because of something you did. So therefore, coming out is not going to be, right? You were sold for nothing. It's not going to depend on you waking up to have a desire for Hashem and Tshuvah Ma'asim Tayim. So that's Rabbi Shua's answer to him. Amar Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Eliezer says back to Rabbi Shua. Like far now, but it says in Malachi, Shuvah Elai v'Shuvah Aleichem. Return to me, and then I'll return to you. So you see, Hashem is not going to wake us up until we first do something from our part. So it's true that Hashem is going to do something to wake us up, but we have to do it first. Amar Rabbi Shua. Rabbi Shua said back to him, like far now, but it already says in another pasuk in Yirmiyah, K'anoichi ba'alti b'chev v'lakachti eschem echa me'ir shnayim mishpacha. So it says, Hashem says that I am your master, or I married you, whatever it is, I have Balbatishkeit on you, and I'm going to take you, one, from this city, and two, from that family. I'm going to gather you, and I'm going to bring you to Tzion. So you see that Hashem is going to take us by force, right? He says, I'm in charge, and you're mine, and I'm going to take you wherever you're going to be. So he says it doesn't, you see that it doesn't, whether we like it or not, he's going to take us. We don't have to first do Tshuvah for him to come. He says, I'm the boss, I'm going to take you down to the Galus. Amar Rabbi Eliezer says, well, like far number, but it says in Yeshaya, B'shuva b'nachas tivoshin, that I'm going to take you back nicely, pleasantly. So you see, it's not going to be by force. So how can you say that he's going to force us? He says, no, it's going to be, we're going to go willingly out of Galus. It's not going to be he's going to force us. Amar Rabbi Yeshua, Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Yeshua said back to him, like far now, but it says in Yeshaya, Mentes koyamar Hashem goyel Yisrael v'kedushai l'vazeh nefesh l'misa goyel eved meishlim malach miro v'kamu v'sar v'ishtachavu. So he says that Hashem says, a redeemer of the Jewish people, that I'm going to come, even though you're going to be like a disgrace among the nations and ruled by kings. I'm going to nevertheless the nations are going to come and they're going to bow down to you, and you see that even though we're going to be in a lowly state, he's going to take you out. Amar Lai Rabbi Eliezer like far nemer im tashav Yisrael ne'um Hashem Elai tashav, but it says if the Jewish people return the word of Hashem, they're going to return to me. So you see Hashem is promising that it depends if they return. Amar Yeshua like far namar ve'ashma se'ish levush habadim, and now he's quoting from Daniel, and this is the end of his. This is the final blow. The final proof, he says, that I heard the man wearing the linen garments across the river. By Yarmi Mina Yismali, he lifted up his right and his left hand, El Shemaim to the heavens. By Yishava, and he swore, by the life of the world. He said that I swear that there's going to be a time where it's going to be a Keitz, there's going to be an end. And so you see that he's saying there's a set time, the Shasik Rabbi Eliezer had nothing to answer. Okay? So it seems that that's the end of the discussion. So that's the first thing. So here we see there's a discussion between Rabbi and Shmuel, and also between Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Shua about whether it depends on us or not. And it seems the conclusion is that it's, yes, we're going to do Tshuvah, but if we don't do it on our own, Hashem will force us, and that's it. That seems to be the conclusion. There's going to be a certain case where it's going to come. Okay, there's another similar discussion a little bit further down the Gmorah. Omar Rabbi Yochanan, Ein ben David Baal b'darsha kulei zakei oisha kulei chayev. That Rabbi Yochanan says the Mashiach is going to come only in a generation that's either all righteous or all wicked. And so he seems to agree with Rabbi Eliezer that, although a little differently, but he says that it depends on either us to do Torah mitzvahs properly and be refined, or, it's not clear why it would be in a darsha kulei chayev unless he's saying, well, if it's such an extreme case, then there'll be a Keitz, like Rabbi Yeshua says, will be forced. It says that here it seems he's translating when everyone is righteous, so then you'll inherit the land. Or b'darsha kulei chayev, or a generation that's all wicked, like it says in Yeshaya, vayar ki ein ish, vayishtaimim ki ein mafkia. Right, that he saw that there was no man and everything was desolate, and no one's doing anything. Siv lamani yasa, and Hashem says, I'm going to do it for my own sake. I'm going to bring the Geula for my own sake. It doesn't depend on you. Okay, so that's another opinion there in the Gmorah that's going to be discussed. And then we come to this pasuk in Yeshaya, which is the central to this idea of the two ways the Mashiach can come, or the three ways, like we'll see. The Ita and Achishena. And this is talking, because I'll explain this also in the Geula, it says Hakatan Yela Elef. So the simple meaning, I think, is just that the small will become a 1,000. Vatzar l'goyotzim, and the young one will become a great nation. Ani Hashem, I am God. V'ita achishema. In its time, I will hasten it. Right? Which seems strange, because if it's in its time, how do you bring it fast? If it's on schedule, how do you rush on schedule? When it's time, because achishema implies to make it early. And I guess, a lot of times, if you just look at a pasuk, and you don't appreciate where Chazal and the diukam are coming from, you say, okay, it's being a little poetic. It means that when the time comes, it's going to be very fast. Like with the Geula from Mitzrayim, that Hashem didn't wait, and as soon as it was time, He took us out right away. So I think that's the way we would understand it without Chazal, but Chazal explained there's something deeper going on in the pasuk. So back to the Gmorah and Sanhedrin, they explain this pasuk. I'm Rabbi Alexandri. Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, Rami, he says we have a contradiction between two psukim. Ksiv, the Ita, says, in the same pasuk, it says it's going to happen in its time. Ksiv achishana, and it says I'm going to make it sooner, I'm going to make it come quick. So he answers, Zachu achishana, if we merit, then it's going to come sooner, it's going to come before the Keitz. Why Zachu, if we don't merit, the Ita will come at its time. So in other words, the simple thing is a certain time when it has to come, and if we merit, we can bring it earlier, but if not, there's a Keitz. And similarly, he explains a similar thing. Rabbi Alexandri, Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, Rami Ksiv, right? It seems to be contradicting two psukim. It says in Daniel, Va'aru imanane shmaya, that I'm going to carry you on clouds to the Geula. Kfar Inishata, right? You're Uksiv, and it says in Zechariah, Ani v'reichiv al chamarad. Right? So one says the Mashiach is going to come riding as a man riding on a cloud. Another one says he's going to come like a poor person riding on a donkey. So he answers, Zachu imanan ishmaya, if we merit, the Mashiach is going to come on a cloud. Lo zachu ani v'reichiv al chamarad. If we don't merit, he's going to come on a donkey. So it seems, at least, the simple thing is, it seems that there's these two possibilities. That Mashiach has a certain set time, and if not, we can bring it sooner. So, okay, before we get into the mimer, there's a couple other points here. So the Maharal brings this idea of the Keitz is very enigmatic. It's very mysterious. It doesn't seem clear what the Psukim are saying, what the Chazal are saying. They bring in the Gmorah, there are all types of different signs from Mashiach to come, but nobody, no one knows. So why is it like that? And the Rebbe makes this point also in the Sikha. Himash histra bayres Keitz agula. The reason Hashem hid it. Mishum shegilia Keitz yesh by atzmei gula. If a person knows the Keitz that itself is a little bit of a gula. It's himishi yedea masa yegia zman elatzis min agolas. Farmeater magish gilu nigal. Someone that knows when the end is coming feels like it's already over. feels like he's already redeemed. But Hashem wants that we should, the goal should bother us, so we should rush to get out. We should, right? So therefore, he says there's a purpose in this Sefer Netzach Yisrael is a Sefer the Maharal, where all about the Geula, about Galus and the Geula. So he makes this point about the Keitz that's purposely hidden for spiritual reason. And another point that is really central to appreciating the shift that Chassidus makes about all these topics is the point, the Rebbe always quotes this thing in Tanya, that a lot of times we think about the ideas in general in Yiddishkeit, but definitely about these things, about the Moshiach and about the Geula and the Keitz, as something that's just a completely chitzonius and external thing that we're just waiting for. That has nothing to do with us. And like, if I would know the date, that's what everybody wants to know. When's the day? When's the date that it's going to come? And Chassidus and really Chazal and everything, Torah, the wants you to really look and make a shift to realize that the ikar of the Galus and the Geula is something going on inside of us spiritually in our Avodas Hashem. And making that shift depends on us. And that's why, like the Alter says, the ultimate perfection of the times of Mashiach and the resurrection of the dead, which is the revelation of the Infinite One, blessed be He, in this physical world, Agashmi. So revealing Hashem Himself, Hashem's essence in this world depends on our actions, and that's what brings the Geula. That's what brings the Geula and Mashiach and all the Nisim. In other words, both stages of the Geula. Everything depends on us. Right? And the Rebbe always quotes this: "Talia ma'aseinev aveinev seinev b'meshach zman hagalus." Ke'agayrim schar galus schar hamitz. No, this is a little. The formatting got off. It's ma'aseinev aveinev b'meshach zman hagalus. Right? That it depends on our actions the entire time of Galus. Because what causes the reward of a mitzvah is the mitzvah itself. And so if Mashiach are the reward, it has to come from us doing the mitzvah. It's not just coming out of the blue. Not only that, it's not even like, you fill up, sometimes your Rebbe has a teacher has a marble jar, and he fills it up and then you get a prize, you get a pizza party or something. It's not even like that. It's a direct outcome. It's a natural outcome of the mitzvah. So and the corollary of that, the implication of that, the bechein, is that the type of avodah we have to do and the type of change we have to make in ourselves isn't just this magical. Sure, any mitzvah and any whatever helps bring Mashiach, but if we appreciate what Mashiach is and appreciate what changes that are going to happen then, we can appreciate what changes we have to make in ourselves now to make the right keli, to make the right vessels for that to happen sooner. And that's what Chassidus and everything is all about doing. Because when you do the mitzvah, each mitzvah is a different way to bring godliness down to the physical world in a certain area of our life. And the Torah and everything, all the Torah mitzvahs, tefillah, are all about tools to help us bring this Gilui, and the ultimate perfection of that is the Geula. Okay, so the key to unraveling, unlocking, understanding all these things, because it's it's just a lot of words. Otherwise, it's very interesting and it's maybe captivating, but it's not like, what can you do with it except for try to figure out the Keitz, which you'll learn about next week, I think. There's a Rambam in his introduction to Prerequisite, actually, which is where the Perek is in Hedron, where all these Gmorahs were from. So there he gives an introduction about what's the idea of Mashiach and Gan Eden and Olam Haba, and there he has a Yud Gimel Ikrim, the 13 principles of our faith, and he gives a very important mashal there that he says that to appreciate godliness for somebody that's just in the physical world is like trying to explain color to a blind person. It's not, there's no connection. And he compares it to, like in education, when you have a child, so when they're young and they're mature, they don't appreciate the intrinsic value of learning. And so you have to motivate them. You say, I'll give you a candy, and when they're older, you say, I'll give you shoes, I'll give you money, you'll become a big rabbi, you'll get honor, and then eventually, the child matures enough to appreciate the intrinsic value of learning itself. And that shift, but when a little kid, it doesn't exist in this world. You try to tell him, well, you should just do it because it's a good. To him, he doesn't see the good. He sees the good in the candy and the tickets and the whatever. And that shift is the mushal for the shift of what the Geula is about. In other words, that we should appreciate the intrinsic value of godliness. That is the spiritual Geula. And automatically, we're going to do the Torah and do the mitzvahs and everything in a way, we're going to want to, like Rambam just says, we're going to want to know the truth just because it's true, we want to do what's right just because it's right, and the Torah and mitzvahs are the ultimate truth of the Torah is in doing them and living that kind of life, and a person who is a complete, mature person will automatically be in touch with this and want to do that. And so once a person reveals their nefesh elokis, their godly soul, and they develop that part of them, so that's, just like a child has that already when they're little, but they don't appreciate it. It takes chinuch, it takes different things. So the question is, what does it take to get a kid to make that shift, to mature, to grow up? And that's really the similar question of what the Keitz is about. It's a similar type of thing. What does it take to crack open the klippah and get a person? Every Jew has this nefesh elokis, and the truth is, every person has a nitzutz of elokos. Right, even someone that's not Jewish has that nitzutz, and it takes, more preparation and more work to reveal it, but it's there, and that's why Moshiach comes. It's going to be everyone's going to serve Hashem together. So the question is, what does it take to get people to let go of all their foolishness and stop just chasing after empty things in the world and appreciate that really godliness is something that has value and has intrinsic value. I should want to pursue that. And in the simplest sense and the most universal sense, just to want to know truth because it's true, to want to do what's right because it's right, to want to contribute, and focus on how can I give and be a light in the world and contribute to the world, as opposed to how can I get the most for myself and my body, being selfish. So that's an akudah. And okay, so the David The Rebbe goes and he explains, asks a lot of questions on these Gmorah, and there's a long couple explaining it. But we'll give a kitzer. So his questions, what's the meaning of this machlokes in Sanhedrin? Rabbi Eliezer seems to agree that there's a Keitz, even without Tshuvah and Ma'asim Tovim. Right? So, he doesn't disagree. I mean, he knows there's those psukim of the Keitz, so why is he saying not? Why did he only mention Tshuvah and not Ma'asim Tovim? In the machlokes of Rav and Shmuel, Rav said that it depends on Tshuvah and Ma'asim Tovim. But Rabbi Eliezer only said Tshuvah. So why did he leave out Ma'asim Tovim? How could Rabbi Yeshua say, but he was the one that said that it doesn't depend on Tshuvah, how could he say that there will be redeemed without Tshuvah, even when there's a Keitz? How could he say, there's going to be a time going to come, and it's like, what is that? Like, the whole meaning of the Geula is a change in people, that we're going to mature enough to be able to appreciate godliness and see godliness in the world. That's a spiritual maturation. How could you say it's going to happen without us? Like, it's happening to us. It doesn't mean anything. Yeah, there's certain physical, technical aspects of the Geula could happen around you, right? You can have Mashiach take over and whatever, but it's not really a Geula for a person if they don't change. So what does it mean that there's a big Geula without Tshuvah? You could have, Mashiach could be the king, but the Geula is a personal thing. Another question is on Rabbi Yochanan. How can you have a generation that's all good or all bad? He says it's going to be either kulei zakulei chayiv, you're going to be waiting forever. You're never going to have everybody good or everyone bad. Right? First of all, and it's an essential thing, because it says even the Paisha Yisrael, even the most rebellious Jew, is Malay Mrs. Karima. Right? And on the other hand, it says Ein Tzadik La'aretz. There's no one that's perfectly righteous. So, okay, and then to the question of Bita Achishena, how can you have a rushed Keitz? Right? If it's in the time, then it's not rushed. And if it's rushed, it's not in the time. So what does it mean, Bita Achishena? He explains that there's three general possibilities of how we can, there's three different, not just possibilities, there's three methods we can use to help bring the Geula personally and globally. But starting with each individual to have a personal Geula. One is through Tshuvah Ma'asim Tovim. That if you give a person a good chinuch, you give them a good education, and they develop good habits of doing good things through doing mitzvahs and doing them properly with Mesiras Nefesh, and everything like that. And then they also learn, and they learn the nigla of Torah, they learn the primus of Torah, whatever. It develops them, refines them, so they become more of a keli for to be mature and appreciate godliness. So that's one approach, right? That's the standard approach of school systems and things. You try to teach your kids by giving them a good upbringing. That's one thing. That's if we merit, it will come achishana. You can rush it. Then there's another thing that if we don't merit, it will come at the Keitz. And the idea of the Keitz here, even though there was a certain time when Hashem decided that Keitz, but the main idea of the Keitz on a personal level is basically a pain threshold. That because every Jew has this godly soul, when it comes down to the body, it comes down to the world, it feels stifled and it feels uncomfortable. And there's only so much Galus it can handle until it says, "That's it. I'm gonna forget about trying to chase all these things and trying to play along. I'm just gonna be myself. I'm gonna be a Jew. I'm gonna be godly, and that's it." And that's what happened. Like in the story of Purim, like he says, he'll be Mamid Melech Kashka Haman. That when there's God forbid, these type of harsh situations, you see it when anytime a person has something that really shakes them up, they right away, they grow up, they age 30 years, it shakes them out of themselves and they mature. So that's the idea of the Keitz is that Hashem has built in that there's a certain, not both as far as external events, but there's also as far as people, there's a certain amount that we can handle. And that's also connected, I don't know if you mentioned about the Schechter of Moshiach is a similar thing. There's going to be a wake-up call that is going to shake people out of Galus. And like the Rebbe said, that the World War I, World War II was like that Schechter, that wake-up call for the nations of the world, for the whole world. And you see that it brought up this idea that we can't afford to go to war anymore because if a nuclear war is not, we better find another way to solve the problems. And he said the Six-Day War was the Schechter, the wake-up call for the Yidden. And it started like this big Saras Tshuvah. So that's an idea. There's certain things that bring a person to feel like, it's enough, and it brings out that part of them they already had, but it just gets them to let go of the klippah and the narishkeit and these things, the shusim, to cover over that inner godly self. Then there's a third way, which is kind of in between the two. It's like a marriage between the two. That you could make a person more sensitive so that you lower their playing threshold, so that they become more sensitized and they can't handle Galus. And so even though don't have enough Tshuvah Ma'asim Tovim to do it the direct way, but you can kind of meet halfway where they feel like they can't handle it anymore and they scream out Masai and that's it. And this is the idea of what learning Chassidus is about, and these kind of things, is to make a person more sensitive to who they really are and recognize that they have a godly soul and things, so that they become less tolerant of Galus. And this idea that the Keitz itself will be rushed. That it's still coming from the Keitz, it's coming from these external pressures of the Galus, but you're lowering the bar for what it takes to get a person to snap out of it. And this itself, he explains, can come also in a few different type of ways a little bit. That it's a combination of the fact that because Hashem gives us a nefshel kiss, sometimes Hashem will wake up a person to Tshuvah, and they'll just feel that their neshama is lit on fire and they can't handle it anymore and they have to do Tshuvah. And that's coming more from above. Sometimes it's coming more from the external harshness of Galus. And then there's this deeper thing that it's coming from Hashem's Etzem, and which is one with our Etzem, and that's the idea that because the end of the day, this is who we are. It's an inescapable thing. So a Jew, no matter where they go, no matter what they're doing, that part of them is always there, and it's always looking to be expressed, and so it's eventually going to push its way out. And that's the basic nekudah of this thing. And he explains so that the purpose of Galus is to, that we should. It's like a challenge. It's like an educational process. We should refine ourselves. We should develop our midas. We should develop our understanding of godliness. And so we have this kind of two-step process of beer. We have, on the one hand, things that we have to do from our side to prepare ourselves, do Torah mitzvahs, for example, or even, so it kind of really brings up these three things. There's doing Torah mitzvahs, and Tshuvah is as far as making ourselves more refined. Then there's just doing things that will wake up our neshama to have like a Tshuvah and even if we didn't do the Torah mitzvahs, but just to feel like this, I'm not being true to whom I really am, and therefore I have to change. And so those are both this thing of like a Keitz. One aspect of the Keitz is small, right? The Keitz on the left side. There's only a certain amount of the bad that we can tolerate. And then there's this other type of thing, the Keitz Yamin. And so one thing of it is, like it says here, is that it's like a physical Keitz. But that idea is coming from the fact that, like the mashal, back to the mashal of chinuch, is that the ultimate purpose of what, whether the teacher's, let's say, being harsh and being strict and punishing, or whether he's being kind and being patient, the ultimate purpose is obviously to develop the kid's potential and bring out that inner potential they really have, and that inner value that they really have. And so because of that, there's always going to be a limit. There's going to be a limit to how much, let's say, he's going to let the kid stray and make a mistake, even though it's a certain kindness to give us independence and let us figure it out ourselves. But there's a certain point where Hashem says, okay, I'm going to step in and help you, because I'm not going to let you just get lost forever. The whole point is, there's a certain lesson we have to accomplish, and so we're going to move on. And it's not that we should just get lost in the process. And so it's not a never-ending thing. That's why there's a Keitz both of how much evil will be tolerated, and that's why there's also a Keitz of how long Hashem will be patient and let us even work on it and get closer and closer. Eventually, it's going to be helped along. And that's also coming from from the nature Hashem gave us in our nefesh kiss, is that it can only handle so much before it's going to be revealed. And so this idea, the Mashiach, is this revelation of our etzem, of our yichida, of the essence of our neshama, and this is something that has to be revealed spiritually in each person. It has to be revealed physically in all the people, and Hashem, choosing the Jewish people and bring us back to Eretz Yisrael and all these things. But it's also something that's higher than the physical and the spiritual, and it's higher than the idea of beer. In other words, there's a certain, like he explains, that there's a certain, let's say, thing you want someone to accomplish. You give them a lesson. You're teaching them something, so you want them to understand the lesson and go through it. That's one thing. There's a deeper thing that you want them to accomplish, is develop a love for learning and challenges, and that comes from, and that's like the secrets of the Torah, and that's the idea of crossing the river. That says when Mashiach comes, we're going to cross the Nar Mitzrayim. And then there's an even deeper thing of that, is appreciating the intrinsic value, the intrinsic connection that a Jew has to Hashem. That's our very identity. That's even beyond the idea of like coming Galus or beating our Yetzer Hara or anything like that. It's something beyond that. And so when that's revealed, that's the ultimate source of the Keitz and the Geula and everything. And that's... Okay, so practically what does this mean in the makeup of our Avodah? So Torah and mitzvahs prepare us physically, right? They prepare us and the world to be more refined so that we can receive Galus. Tshuvah is preparing us spiritually. It's revealing our neshama, making us feel the sense that, I want to be true to who I am and develop that potential, whatever it is. And that can happen even if a person didn't do Torah mitzvahs. Or even a person is doing Torah mitzvahs, it says the Mashiach is going to bring the tzaddikim to Tshuvah. But even somebody that's a tzaddik has to realize that the fact that I'm connected to Hashem is not really because of what I did. No matter how good I am, it's really a deeper connection. And so they also need that sense of Tshuvah, that I want to be connected to Hashem in a way and have it be expressed in a way that's beyond anything that I did or my choices, something that's my very identity. And that brings us to this idea of the etzem, which is what Hasidus wants to reveal to help prepare us for the Geula and bring it closer. And this is in three ways. It gives us strength to win the war with the Yetzer Hara and transform the world. So learning Hasidus helps us do the first thing, do Torah mitzvahs and appreciate the value of it and things like that. Number two, it helps us see that etzem in the difficulties of Galus and appreciate the advantage of nisyones, and so that helps in that. And number three, by appreciating our etzem, which is higher than any purpose, even in overcoming the Yetzer Hara and everything like that, and realizing that we have this deeper connection, which is our identity, even if we mess up. And that's really the essence of what Tshuvah is. And he says, similarly explains that there's like these kind of three ways that the neshama can be refined spiritually in Gehenna. It can be, which is breaking it out of its, showing it that the actions that it did weren't in line with its true godly self. And when it sees the truth, so that it's pained by what it did and it lets go of it and it forgets it. Then there's the idea of, like he calls hell on earth, that, God forbid a person has, suffering, things like that. You see that it makes a person let go of their desires and breaks them out. And then there's the best way is through Torah, mitzvahs, and, and especially the P3S of Torah Prerequisites, makes us more refined and see more clearly who we are and how what we're doing expresses that, and so therefore we'll want to choose to do things in a way that express our etzem more. Okay, so now we can understand some of the answers to these things. So the machlekes about whether it requires our actions or not is based on this, this idea. In other words, there's, on the one hand, one side is that, well, you have to make the kalim, Rav is saying, well, you have to make the kalim to refine it, or else the nefesh isn't going to be revealed properly. And Shmuel is saying, well, but on the other hand, because this is the intrinsic nature that Hashem put in us, so it's definitely going to push its way out. Even a person, like you see sometimes a person, when they're a kid, they're always whatever, they won't do the right thing, and then one day they snap out of it, they mature. It's gonna push its way out. And so it doesn't necessarily have to depend on that. Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Shur are only talking about Tshuvah because they're speaking about more in this, how do you reveal the neshama on the spiritual level, in a higher level. So within that, also there's these two sides. On the one side, it could come from a person feeling, in touch with who they are and let's say, learning chassidus or refining themselves. That brings them to that sense of Tshuvah. But then it can also, Rabbi Shua's point is that can also be brought out through these external things that happen in Galus and things like that itself will bring it out because it's an inescapable thing. Even when a person is making the wrong choices and seemingly stuck in Galus, that part of them is still there and it's not happy. And so it's always pushing, and eventually, like it says, that when a Jew sins, even while they're sinning, they're really faithful to God in essence. Because even while they're doing it, at the same time they regret it. They just don't know a better way. So that part's always there, and it's definitely going to come out, even without the person doing something special to refine himself to make it up. So that's the idea of their machlekes, and that's, like we said, the idea of bita achishana, that it can come in these three ways. It can either come achishana through doing Torah mitzvahs and Tshuvah. It can come b'ita, just because that we have this essential connection that's eventually going to come out no matter what. We won't be able to handle Galus anymore. And then there's this bita achishana we can put the two together, and that's the idea of, by learning chassidus, we become more refined so that we're less tolerant of Galus, and it helps break us out, plus it helps us do Torah mitzvahs better too. And this is why Rabbi Yochanan said it's like this idea of the extremes, that it's going to be either all good or all bad, is because when this level is revealed, it brings a complete birur. When a person is fighting the Yetzer Hara, like the kid, you're motivating them with a prize and this and that, but they're not changing their until they really mature, they don't change their nature, and so they never finish the process. The whole idea of Mashiach, though, is bringing this deeper clarity when a person sees who they really are, and then it makes this, similar to like the difference between a Benyomin and a tzaddik, that it makes this complete separation, and so they see it's totally good and it's totally bad. They don't have this mixture of motives anymore, and so that's the idea of that. Okay, and so I think with that, this is really the Nekudah is the key that explains their understanding these things. And if you look at some of these things in the Gmorah, and it explains it in this Mimer and other places, you could appreciate deeper what they were saying about it. I don't know if you want to look at it.
Yeah.
You look at it? Okay. We'll take a look at some of these things. So this is backing up a little bit in Sanhedrin. This is Tzadik Vov on the base, I think. No? Or is it Tzadik?
Zayin. It shows.
Looks like maybe it's Tzadik Zayin. Okay.
It's very close.
Yeah. So it says Mizmar Shir Liyem Shabbos, right? that there's a song for the day of Shabbos, and it says that doesn't just refer to the day of Shabbos itself. It's Yom Shekulei Shabbos, it refers to the time of Mashiach, which is a day that's all Shabbos. In other words, the idea of Mashiach is that it explains in the Chassidus that it's that Shabbos, the idea of rest from work, and that's the idea that it's connecting to a level that's beyond, the whole idea of work is you're doing something that's you don't really want to do, you're doing it just for the reward. It's extrinsic. Right? And the whole idea of Shabbos is that you're not allowed to do anything that's not necessary for itself. And so the whole thing of Mashiach is that everything's going to be done not in a way that like we're forced, but it's going to be like not in a way of like it says the mitzvahs will be b'teilis, but the luxury won't be batal. Right? It's not going to be in a way that we're doing it just because Hashem tells us to and we have to. We're going to do it because we're appreciating the intrinsic value of the thing, and that's why it's called Shabbos. And it says, Ki elef shana beinecha ki hasmol, that 1,000 years in Hashem's eyes is like a day. Yavar, right, the past. Tana de Eliyahu, sheis alofim shana have alma, the world is going to exist for 6,000 years. In other words, it's the regular world. Shnei alofim tayu, shnei alofim tayr, shnei alofim bez Mashiach. First 2,000 will be tayu, chaotic. Then it will be 2,000 years of Torah, which started with Avram Avinu preparing for Torah, and then Matan Torah, and then 2,000 years of the times of Mashiach, which we're towards the end of already, preparing for that process. And by the way, the fact that now in the world you see some of the things he talks about in the Mimer happening, where people start to become aware that they, when like you see when a teenager starts maturing and they realize that they have choice and they don't have to just do things because they're told to do it. That's an important part of maturity, and that's moving to what he calls the makif. It's moving to this realization that, who says it has to be this way? It could be anyway. And then the idea of Mashiach is like Yosef Pesach Chalemis. That's called like a dream. You say, well, I can do whatever I want, and it could be however way. I can make any rules. And the idea that you're going to pick a certain way and commit that this is the way I want to live my life, and this is the way it should be, that comes from a deeper realization of who you are, that you realize that yes, that it does matter what I do and how I do it because I have a certain nature, and I have a certain potential and a certain whatever, and therefore it has to be a certain way. And that's the interpretation of the dream that comes from a realization of a person's inner identity, and that's like this idea. Okay, but he says, because of our sin, already a lot of the time of the Keitz is gone. Amar Leliyo, the Rabbi Huda, Achad, the Rav Sava, Chasida, Eina, Eilam, Papes, Mishmeidim, so the world's not going to exist for less than 85 Yovelis, Yovel, Achronim, Ben David Ba, right? The last one's going to come. So again, in the simple sense, it looks like it's just giving you a time frame. But on a deeper level, the idea of Yovel is explained is connected to like a realization of understanding and freedom. It's a time when they free the slaves and things like that. And so in other words, there's a certain point where people are going to come to this deeper realization, this deeper understanding, and this deeper freedom that comes from realizing godliness and who they are, and that's like the event of God. Amar le b'tchilasei, he says he would come at the beginning or the end of that period. Amar le, any day, I don't know. Right? So you see that again, like there's a certain be'itai, but within that it could be achishana. You have a certain amount of refinement that has to happen, and that's going to happen. But then there's what we could do to make it, and it's a certain process too. I mean, like it says, even when Mashiach comes, there's in the beginning, for people that aren't learning P3S Torah, it's not going to be that different than now. And then it's going to be a process till everyone learns and reaches that spiritual maturity until eventually it's going to be a universal thing. So it's a process. Even once Mashiach comes this moment, it's still a process that we're going to have to go and teach and work to bring it out more and more. Mashiach himself is going to teach. And so, if you look through this Gmorah, like it explains in the Mimer, other places, all these different signs have to do with that theme. Next week's shiur will be given by Rabbi Markowitz on the topic of calculating the Keitz, calculating the end of time, I guess whether you should, whether you shouldn't, and different things, opinions about that. And that's going to be next Monday, Hashem.
Thank you.
Yeah.